And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is your boy Grade A Fantasy, and I'm here to give you your top plays or discuss what I feel are the top plays at running back for the Week 14 main slate on FanDuel. I am very excited about the running back slate. Nothing of crazy value unless somebody gets hurt or whatever the case is. It is the middle of the week, but I think it's a clear cut from 9,700, Jonathan Taylor. I'm a narrative guy. Once somebody gets off the $10,000 snide, they always normally bounce back. And in a solid to great way. Maybe not slate breaking, If you needed them, you needed them, but nothing crazy like they dropped before anything. But they obviously do a whole lot better than what they did when people do get priced up to the 10,000 point. So we'll start off there with Jonathan Taylor, and I'll let you know who I think is probably the most important piece of the slate because of his value. Now, of course, there's wide receiver pieces that can help as well. But when it comes to running back, I think where you can stop at is probably going to be one of the most important pieces to the slate, not only for what time that he plays, but for the role that he plays at the price and for what he has coming up, for the opponent that he has coming up. Probably the most focal point, one of my most important focal points of this slate. But let's continue after Jonathan Taylor. James Cook in Cincinnati seems to be a slam dunk, 400 cheaper than Jonathan Taylor. Bills need to keep up the pace, so with the great week that he had against the Steelers, definitely not as a demanding matchup, nowhere near that. So I think James Cook is in store for another huge game. It's just a case of if Burrow being back pushes Josh Allen to want to dominate, but still, I think with the ability of Burrow being able to push the Bills, I think you can roster. Now, I don't know about on the same lineup. That is a contrarian build, and they're both very expensive. Josh dropping down to 92. Basically, they're the same price. But definitely a contrarian build that not a lot of people will have. So James Cook and Josh Allen, but definitely James Cook definitely against the Bengals is a must. Devon A-Chain, once again, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I've been saying it since week 4, week 5. He is the AFC Christian McCaffrey. Is game script proof. Is the heartbeat of the offense, running and passing. 9,200 against the Jets. As we continue, other top players that I like, we got Josh Jacobs at 8,600. It is supposed to be freezing cold. Now I'm talking about, I think by the time game time hits, it might be 32 or is it 27? I think I got that backwards. I think the high for the day in Green Bay is 32. I think game time is probably going to be 27. So Josh Jacobs will be relied upon in that game. Kyron Williams at Arizona. Once again, we're going to keep attacking Arizona like I always said. But here's the issue with Kyron. Now the Blake Corum thing, which was something occasional towards the end of last season, seems to be a thing. Now, I don't think Blake Corum would have got as many carries last week, which would have calmed the Blake Corum noise down because Kyron, he's somebody that I did get to at least 5 or 6 times last week in my 20 max, did have an ankle injury, was able to come back and still grab his own touchdown. So that just lets you know the substance of the Corum noise from last week. But I think Kyron Williams is still a good pick. 8,200. Bucky Irvin played solid last week in his return. He was somewhat unrestricted duty. They didn't want to give him 16 to 18, 20 carries. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Bucky did get to 14, 15 carries. I think he did have a touchdown last week. I didn't have much of him. No, he did get to 17. Okay, so he got 17. And then he did get 2 targets for 2, so 15.1 is a return. You know that I definitely like to respect the Saints defense. Saints defense is on the road in this case, so 8,000 still good for Bucky. Quinshon Judkins, he's probably the chalk play the cash game guy that we need. He should be very popular. Are there ways for this to go bad? Yes, it's the Browns, but they need him to support Shador. So Quinshon Judkins at the flat 7.9. I'm not gonna lie, it should be at least on FanDuel. I don't know what the price is on DraftKings, but I don't really normally pair this up that way. But because of the matchup and for what it is, I will have a lot of pay up Browns defense mixed with Quinshawn Judkins. Mixed with him. And if I decide to do it too, no Shador, but I might even pay down at tight end for Harold Fanning with Quinshawn Judkins and the defense. That seems to be a good to go to stack right there. Breece Hall against Miami. I'm definitely going to have lots of that. 7,500. Chase Brown against Buffalo. I still like Chase Brown. People are worried about the Samaje Perine because of all basically the 12 to 15 touches he had. Forget carries, touches in general. So that's just coming out of the backfield. And both running backs have a run and catch skill set. But Samaje Perine is definitely cutting into the ceiling of what Chase Brown can have, especially in a game like this. But still, it's the Buffalo run defense. You still have to have them. That doesn't mean fade them. You just probably don't want to be as heavy as you want to be with Chase Brown. As we continue, not a defense that you want to fear. Definitely more challenging than usual. But he's also somebody with a Bishop Tootin shadow. Indianapolis. I was able to get Travis Etienne right a few weeks ago. Probably like 3 games in a row. And then last week kind of like busted last week. Especially with Jaguars being able to move the ball and Tootin got the touchdown. Plus, Etienne didn't have that much of a great game, but 7,000 is still an option. Low-owned option. Definitely, I think you could definitely go with Jaylen Warren at Baltimore. That's an ugly game. I didn't want to even talk about Derrick Henry, but Warren does catch passes out the backfield. They do give it to him in different formations, so he is an option, but definitely a low-owned one. Kenneth Walker. He had a Charbonnet shadow, but definitely a good matchup against 66 for 6,600, even at Atlanta. That's another famous combo. I might pay for Seattle to see if they can blitz the crap and force some interceptions out of Kirk Cousins. And then, to me, the most important running back, because of his price and value, I think DeAndre Swift is definitely an option. He's been running well. Chicago offense has been running well. But it's R.J. Harvey at Las Vegas. He's basically the man. He doesn't really have a vulture. He gets spelled by McLaughlin and whoever else is behind him, Tony Badee. So, but R.J. Harvey basically is the man. If we take a look at what he's done since the J.K. Dobbins injury, if I can get this loaded, he's basically had 16 touches up to last week, 13. It's basically been like 2 weeks since that. So as you can see, it's slightly going up. He gets catches. He gets targeted in the passing game. He gets the runs. He's getting the goal line looks too. The goal line look doesn't go to McLaughlin or anybody else. He's getting them. Knicks is mostly scrambling in between the 20s. It's definitely going to R.J. Harvey, even on the road. And yes, that game was horrifically ugly that week. He just has all the upside of having pretty much, I would say, a 65, maybe even a 70% workload, while the 30% is given to everybody else. But R.J. Harvey, I think, is a key cog with a 65. He definitely has the opportunity to ×3 his price. As we keep going under, yes, Swift is right there, but I say R.J. Harvey's in a better spot. These guys are shadows, so if you pay down for them, you definitely need them to at least get that touchdown, maybe a few points. Like I said, people like Charbonnet are not going to score 18, 19, but with the right offensive workload and they get the touchdown, you can automatically count them for 6 and then just add up to whatever. They could get 11 or 13. That's something that could work. Aaron Jones is in doubt of playing. That is Washington. Maybe Jordan Mason might be a good look. Because with J.J. McCarthy, they might need to run that ball a little bit more. You got to pay attention to that. If Jordan Mason is there and it is against a Washington defense, I will definitely take a peek at Jordan Mason again. He's definitely one of those guys that when he gets the opportunity, he always comes in clutch. And normally when the running back in front of him is hurt, Jordan Mason is normally set up for a good matchup. This time that matchup is at home against Washington. If Kamara sits out again, Devin Neal is an option again for salary relief. And I think after that, that's it. There goes Blake Corum. And then goes Tyler Algier. But I am not touching anybody against Seattle, so that's a no. It'll be Blake Corum if I go down this far. Now that Bucky's back, Rashad's back at his price where he should be at 57. And I guess if Baltimore shuts down, I guess you can look at Kenneth Gainwell, who's been getting some options as well. But that is it. That is my running back preview. Definitely will try to catch up with all the shows tonight. I like wide receiver, but waiting on some news, obviously, once again on that. So I'll probably try and get that out to you tomorrow. Tonight will most likely be tight ends and defense, and then I will definitely look at trying to get wide receiver out tomorrow. Obviously, wide receiver is something that's always something that I've been trying to do on Friday when there's significant news. There's a few pieces of news, but I think I can wrap up these previews by Thursday evening. Good luck this week. Looking forward to the 20K to first, $3 150 max on FanDuel. Good luck on your research. Still plenty of news to come. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe for the video if you can. I will sincerely appreciate it. This is your boy Grady Fantasy, and I'm signing off.